This video is brought to you by Practical Music Theory for the Rock Guitarist, my new book, which is a comprehensive guide to all aspects of music theory necessary for playing rock guitar. From blues to the cycle of fifths, from understanding and using modes to choosing the right notes for a melodic solo, from pentatonic scales to chord construction and keys. It's all covered in a clear and concise manner. With accompanying video demonstrations, jam tracks and tabs, you'll learn to use the knowledge you gain in accessible ways that make sense for less than the cost of a few guitar lessons. Check out the link in the description for more details. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. It's all about a pair of guitars today. This one that you've seen on the channel many times. Now, this is a guitar I bought back in 2022, a Gibson Les Paul Tribute. Basically, the first single-cut twin humbucker guitar in 30 years that I've ever really bonded with, and I've bonded with this in a big way. Really enjoying this guitar, and as I say, you've seen it on the channel many times now, and we're going to be comparing that against this rather recent arrival. This is an Epiphone 59 Les Paul Standard. That one of those that was done a few years ago, was about 3 years ago, in conjunction with the Gibson Custom Shop. And I've done a comparison between the Gibson and one of these Epiphones before, and my conclusion was that I preferred the feel of the Gibson, but I much preferred the sound of the Epiphone, based on the fact that the Epiphone has Gibson burst bookers, I think burst booker 2 and 3 in there. And stock, this guitar came with a set of 490s, a 490R and a 490T. And they were great pickups, but I just preferred the sound of the burst bookers. Then a very generous chap called Joshua got in touch from the Netherlands and said, I have a set of burst bookers just lying around in a drawer that you can have as a present if you want to put them into your Gibson. So, of course, what do? You said yes, and yes, please, thank you very much. And that Gibson now has the same pickups in it as the Epiphone. So that's what we're doing today. That's what the internet needs. Another comparison between a Gibson and an Epiphone. As I say, I've done this comparison before, but now both guitars have the same pickups. So what we're going to do is have a little bit of a listen. And listening is the operative word here, because I will be revealing which guitar is which at the end of the video. But for now, you're just going to have to see what differences you can hear whilst looking at some pictures and footage of Dougal. You'll see on screen Guitar 1 and Guitar 2. See if you can make out which one is which. And just a little bit of housekeeping. All of those guitar tones were the identical settings. Blue Guitar Amp 1 Mercury Edition for the on the vintage channel for the crunchy power chord sort of stuff. Back the volume off for the cleaner parts. And on the chord part there, I added a little bit of chorus as well as the usual little bit of room reverb and delay. And for the shoutier parts, it was the new Ex-Horseman pedal going into the front end of it, just to kind of give it that push over the edge. And both guitars, I think, acquitted themselves really rather well. There is a full tab for that piece of music in both Guitar Pro and PDF formats, along with a clip of me playing it and the jam track I was using as well. All of that is up on my Patreon page. There's the address, link in the description, as I'm sure you know by now. $3 or £3 a month gets you access to all of these additional bits and pieces and goodies and resources that go along with these YouTube videos. And of course, a massive, massive, heartfelt thank you to everyone who supports me in that or any of the other ways, all of which are downstairs in the description. While we're doing the housekeeping sort of thing, let's have a little bit of a look at how the guitars compare side by side in terms of neck profile and all that kind of good stuff. So here are the vital statistics. You can see the Gibson is slightly lighter than the Epiphone. The Gibson is 3.7 kilos, Epiphone is 4 kilos. It feels like more than that when you're actually holding the guitar, I will say. When you're holding the guitars, the Epiphone does feel a little bit of a chunky old Hector. Nut width marginally narrower on the Gibson, 42.5 versus the Epiphone's 42.8. Absolutely, I would say, looking at those neck profiles, they're identical neck profiles, and I can say that because I did the Epiphone neck profile with a contour gauge a few days ago. And then I've just done the Gibson one now, and I took the kind of contour gauge and put it on the Epiphone neck, and it was the same. The measurement for the Gibson neck does fit the Epiphone neck like a glove. Strangely, the biggest difference is the DC pickup resistance readings. They are similar, but given that both guitars now sport the same pickups, you would have expected them to be more similar than they are, but you can see what they are on screen there. So that's all of the sort of facts and figures and housekeeping and stuff out of the way. Could you tell which was the Gibson and which was the Epiphone? Could you hear that there was any difference at all? Frankly, despite the difference in pickup readings, I would struggle to be able to tell one guitar from another. It's only because I've got a list written down here that I can tell which part of that tune I did with the Gibson and which part I did with the Epiphone. So, if you're having a little bit of a wager or a bet with someone, and, there's maybe a pint of beer or, something like that riding on this, now's the time to see if you can collect, because here is the reveal. This is the same piece of music again, but this time you will see exactly which guitar I'm playing and, which time for which part. Here it is. So there you have it, folks. You know, the conclusion that we can draw here is that if you buy one of these guitars, a Gibson Les Paul Tribute, which I think, if you can still get them, they're about, because aren't they discontinuing this one? But yeah, one of these days is just north of £1,000, I think 1,100-1,200 quid. And then, unless you're lucky enough to have somebody just give you a set of burst bookers to throw into it, you know, if you pay, let's say, 1,100 quid for the guitar, and then however much the aftermarket pickups are, then, you know, you're probably going to be into it for maybe 1,100 quid. And if you do all of that, you can have a guitar that sounds as good as this one, which costs about 700. That's one way of looking at it, I suppose. The other way of looking at it is, you know, one of them is a Gibson, one of them is an Epiphone, you know, and that G word on the headstock does mean something to some people. You know, you could go to Redcar High Street Market and buy a pair of jeans for 15 quid, and then an identical pair of jeans that has, I don't know, Dolce and Chanel badges sewn on them, and, you know, they'd be considerably more. So the name or the badge on it does matter to some people, and I'm quite open about the fact that why did I buy a Gibson? Because I'd had a good year and I wanted to give myself a little bit of a trophy. Yeah, this is my trophy guitar, and such as it is. And you know, so that brand name does matter to some people. It's not a kind of a massive thing for me, but I just wanted to give myself a little bit of a treat for having, you know, kind of done well in 2022. The other thing that I've mentioned before is I do prefer the feel of this guitar, the satin nitro finish on this. I prefer to the poly satin finish on this, or I think they call it aged gloss. I don't dislike the finish on this. It's perfectly comfortable to play on. It's not sticky. It's not, you know, claggy or, you know, it doesn't impede you in any way, but I just prefer this one. So, you know, there is that kind of thing. And I do prefer the slightly more, lightweight feel of this one. As I say, there's only 300 grams in it, you know, so like 0.3 of a kilo. So but it feels like more. When you pick the guitars up, that Epiphone feels chunky and heavy, whereas the Gibson feels lightweight and vibrant and resonant. And that's another thing that I prefer about the Gibson. It does feel like it's kind of alive and fizzing with every note that you play, you know, much more so than the Epiphone. Whether or not that translates into, you know, what effect it has on the amplified tone, well, possibly we've you know, kind of cleared that up, because, as I said, you know, it was very difficult to tell the two guitars apart. But what it does do is I just prefer that that tactile feel of the guitar resonating against, you know, me kind of body and in the hands and everything. It just feels a more pleasant playing experience. Not that the other one is unpleasant. I just prefer the way that the Gibson resonates and, as I say, it feels zingy and alive with every note that you play. Very, very kind of satisfying experience. And that in turn does lead, certainly me, to play with a little bit more verve and enthusiasm. And, you know, I've said this before, but, you know, what does it affect the amplified tone? Well, he pays your money and he takes your choice on that one. Based on that example that we've seen earlier, I don't think it's making a great deal of difference to the sound that you're hearing on the recording. But there you go. Anyway, folks, that is the video for today. The shootout, the comparison, the showdown, the can't think of any other word to describe it really, but the side-by-side look at the Gibson Les Paul Tribute with aftermarket burst bookers and the Epiphone 59 Les Paul Standard, designed and made in conjunction with the Gibson Custom Shop. That is what we've been all about today. Make of it what you will. Hope you've enjoyed the video and found it useful, informative, and hopefully entertaining in some small way. And if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not drop me a like as well while you're at it. Don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 PM UK time. We drink beer and talk about music and guitars and many, many other things. It's a great way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.